You did everything right. Degree, job, direct deposit every 2 weeks. You save. You're not reckless. By every standard measure, you're doing fine. So why does it feel like you're standing still? Why does every month somehow end with roughly the same number in your account despite earning more than you did 3 years ago? Why does financial freedom feel further away the older you get, not closer? Here's what nobody tells you. The middle class isn't just a tax bracket, it's a system. A system with three specific mechanisms that keep you exactly where you are, earning enough to feel okay, never enough to actually get ahead. And the reason it works so effectively is that every part of it looks completely normal from the inside. It doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like Tuesday. By the end of this video, you'll see all three clearly. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. The first trap, the upgrade illusion. You've been at your job for 2 years. You get a raise, $400 more per month. You worked for it. You earned it. And within 60 days, sometimes faster, it's gone. Not blown on anything dramatic. Distributed invisibly across a dozen small upgrades that each felt completely reasonable in the moment. You move to a slightly nicer apartment when your lease ends. You get the next trim level on your car instead of the base model. You stop meal prepping as often because delivery a few nights a week is fine now. You upgrade the streaming tiers. You buy the nicer version at the grocery store without checking the price first. None of these feel like decisions. That's the trap. They feel like you finally living at the level you actually earn. Princeton research on hedonic adaptation shows that within weeks of any income increase, your emotional baseline resets completely. The new apartment becomes normal. The better car becomes just your car. Your brain recalibrates to treat the upgraded lifestyle as the minimum floor, not the improvement. And now, you need the next raise just to feel the same as before. Here's what that costs in real numbers. The average American receives roughly 3 salary increases per decade. If lifestyle creep absorbs every dollar of every raise, which Bureau of Labor Statistics household spending data suggests it does for most people, the average worker surrenders approximately $400,000 in potential investment growth over a 40-year career. Not because they spent it on something stupid, because they spent it on something normal. And normal, compounded across decades, is a fortune quietly surrendered one reasonable upgrade at a time. The fix isn't to resist all lifestyle improvements. That's not sustainable. The fix is the Raise Intercept automating 50% of every income increase directly into investments the same week the new salary starts. Before your lifestyle learns, it exists. The lifestyle still improves on the remaining 50%. You still feel the raise, but you've permanently captured half of it before the illusion absorbs every dollar. Drop in the comments. Has a raise ever completely disappeared on you within 3 months? Because based on the data, this happens to most people and almost nobody talks about it. The second trap, the good debt myth. This one is sneakier because it comes dressed in the language of financial responsibility. You've been told certain debt is good. Mortgage, good debt, you're building equity. Car loan responsible, you need transportation. Student loans investing in your future. This framing is so normalized that most Americans never question it. But here's what the actual math says. The average 30-year mortgage, at current rates, means you pay approximately 2.5 times the original home price by the time the loan finishes. On a $300,000 home, you'll pay roughly $750,000 total. The house may appreciate, but so does everything else you need to buy with money you won't have. According to Federal Reserve data, the median American household's total liabilities have grown faster than their net worth in every decade since 1990. Debt growing faster than wealth. For the entire American middle class. For 30 consecutive years. Here's what good debt actually does to your life that nobody puts in the brochure. Debt doesn't care what you called it when you signed. Every dollar going to interest cannot compound for you. Every mandatory payment removes a decision from your life before you even make it. You stay in the job you can't stand because the mortgage is due on the 1st. You don't take the risk on the business idea because the car note is due on the 15th. You don't move to the cheaper city because the financial penalties are too high. The debt made those decisions before you sat down. A $300 monthly car payment isn't $300. It's $18,000 total over 60 months, plus the compounding growth that money could have generated. That single car payment decision, run through a 30-year investment calculator, represents over $100,000 in wealth never built. The reframe isn't to never borrow. It's to calculate the real total cost of every liability before signing, including the opportunity cost of every dollar going to interest instead of compounding for you. Most people never run this number. The people who do make significantly different decisions. Good debt is a phrase invented by institutions that profit from lending. Every liability has a real price. Run the number before you sign, not after. The third trap, the savings illusion. You have money in a savings account. This feels responsible. This feels like exactly what a financially disciplined adult should do. But here's what's quietly happening to that money every year without appearing in your balance. Inflation in the United States has averaged approximately 3.1% annually over the last 30 years, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics (CPI) data. The average traditional savings account at a major bank pays between 0.01 and 0.5% interest. Even high-yield savings accounts at 4 to 5% barely keep pace during elevated inflation periods. Here's the specific math. $10,000 in a standard savings account earning 0.5% over 20 years grows to approximately $11,000. The same $10,000 in a basic S&P 500 index fund at the historical 10% average annual return grows to $67,000. Same 20 years. Same starting amount. A $56,000 difference from one decision about where the money sits. The psychological trap is that a savings account feels safe because the number never goes down visibly. But inflation doesn't show up in your balance. It shows up 20 years from now when that money buys significantly less than you expected. The account says $11,000. Inflation made sure that $11,000 buys what $7,000 bought when you deposited it. Real safety isn't a number that stays stable. Real safety is purchasing power that holds. For money you won't need for more than 3 years, the most financially responsible move is getting it somewhere it can grow faster than inflation erodes it. Now here's where all three traps connect. And this is the part that makes the middle class trap genuinely hard to escape. Each one feels responsible in isolation. Upgrading after a raise feels like enjoying your success. A mortgage feels like building equity. Savings feels conservative and smart. None of them feel like traps. That's the design. But together, they create a ceiling that follows you through your entire career. Income rises. Lifestyle absorbs every dollar. Debt locks your decisions. Savings quietly lose to inflation. And decade after decade, the net worth number stays stubbornly low despite reasonable earnings and genuinely doing everything you were told. The people who escape it made 3 specific adjustments. They intercepted raises before lifestyle absorbed them. They ran total cost calculations on every liability before signing. And they moved long-term money out of accounts that lose to inflation into vehicles that historically beat it. None of it requires a finance degree. It just requires seeing the system clearly enough to make different choices inside it. The middle-class trap doesn't announce itself. It looks like a nice apartment, a reasonable car payment, and a savings account balance that feels responsible. It works because every piece of it is invisible until you look directly at the math. Now you've looked. If something clicked in this video, subscribe. Every week, Scott Finance breaks down the specific mechanisms behind why people doing everything right still end up financially stuck. The people who subscribe are the ones who actually do something different. Hit the button.